in the midst of COVID-19, of course, the road to recovery is very important, both in terms of health and also the financial health of the country. Various efforts have been taken. A stimulus package number 1 has been announced to the tune of 1.7 lakh crore rupees. But what about a stimulus package number 2? What all should be the constituencies addressed, and should MSME be one of them, being such a critical sector? Joining us right now is a special panel. I have with me Mr. Rajesh Shah, is the past president of FICCI. Nainalal Kidwai is also associated with FICCI. Thank you so much, Ms. Kidwai, for joining us. And in just a few moments, we'll have the president of FICCI, Dr. Sangeeta Reddy, also with us. Ms. Kidwai, let me begin with you. What do you think should be the roadmap ahead as we look or are hopeful for stimulus package 2.0?
So we have no doubt that there is a stimulus package on the way. As you know, the 0.8% of GDP is what we have seen thus far. And the ask from FICCI and from many others is that we see a spend of at least 5% of GDP coming in some form of, let's not just call it a stimulus package. I would say it's also a Saving India package as we go forward. And MSMEs specifically are gasping for breath, and it is going to be critical to see some support there. Now, that support comes in 2 ways. One is through the Reserve Bank of India and the banks and the banking system and NBFCs, all of whom provide much needed liquidity support, where RBI has made some excellent moves in terms of recognizing issues. And does it go far enough? Not yet. And execution on the ground, where we rely on risk-averse banks to basically institutionalize what RBI has said, I think is the gap which needs to be followed through. So what exists needs to be felt better on the ground, but I would like to see a lot more happening in terms of working capital, for example. Can we not just double the working capital lines for all companies across the board, instead of leaving it to the discretion of every relationship as we go forward? Because we know that that is an issue. For immediate operating comfort, companies need that liquidity line. Okay. Then the issue is security. Can a lot of this be looked at in terms of the collateral that is required? In many cases, the collateral itself has depreciated, so that begins to provide for loans being called in. So look at collateral-free loans. And also, going forward, as companies begin to show the stress, let them not become NPA in banks' books. Do that recognition. Ideally, 360 days is FICCI's ask, down, as against in 90 days as exists today. So give the company a chance to get that oxygen in, and almost treat this as a standstill for the next 12 months from the MSME and indeed corporate standpoint. And lastly, I would say, while focusing on MSMEs, many SMEs are parts of supply chains of larger companies. So let's not ignore the needs of larger companies and ask them to fend for themselves. That weakness, in turn, impacts and inflicts itself on the MSME.
Okay. Mr. Rajesh Shah, what are your suggestions?
See, I think, as we all know, MSME is a very large part of the economy. Almost 80% of the people are employed in MSME. A lot of MSMEs have already been struggling with liquidity after GST and all. Compliances requirement have gone up. Also, their working capital needs have been under pressure for the last couple of years. And this COVID coming on top of that has really created a lot of issues. We've already seen a lot of the larger companies are already saying that they are not paying the suppliers immediately, because what's happening, everybody is conserving cash. So first thing we need to do is we need to deliver liquidity, cash in their hands. Trying to do it via RBI, via the banks may not be the most efficient one, because banks are very risk averse and they have an NPA issue. I think government should set up a fund and give a 3-year interest-free loan to the MSMEs, based on their size and their turnover, and that will immediately allow the MSMEs to stay afloat. Other than that, government should also allow MSMEs to defer some of the tax payments, like the GST payments and others. They can defer it by 3 months or by 6 months. so that they conserve the liquidity and pay their employees and pay the salaries and other things. So I think the government has to give a lot of leeway. If you can make the MSMEs stay afloat at this time, I think the economy will come back on track.
Okay, Ms. Naina Lal Kidwai, see, there are a couple of points that I want to make over here which affect the MSMEs directly. There seems to be some sort of a flip-flop over the lockdown. When I say flip-flop, I mean whether it should be extended further, what all should be excluded, included. There is a complete list, all right. While there is talk that big units, while following social distancing, come into operation, or there is some relief in some quarters, many of those industries have said, see, we depend for raw material or supply on certain ancillary units. And while they remain shut, then there is no point for us to be in operation. What will be your suggestion?
I think you're absolutely right when you point this out, because that is the supply chain I alluded to earlier, that we have to look at that whole chain, whether you look at large companies paying their suppliers, which are ancillary companies, or the other way around, which you rightly point out, which is the supply of products. I mean, as simple as, say, packaging materials, which are needed for essential commodities for them to reach us and to reach the shelves of the retail sectors. Which, by the way, government has fully recognized. While it kept listing essential commodities, it took a little time, but it has recognized this, and therefore packaging companies which large companies are reliant on, have also been termed essential. But there has been a struggle getting through to the logistics of supply, where transporters are an issue, there are not enough drivers, truckers and abandoned vehicles all over the country, and how to move that product out of that MSME to a willing buyer, which is its own larger company maybe, or even to supply it to the retail level. The issue remains on that evacuation at one end. And on the other, for those that remain shut and may remain shut for a while, because there are MSMEs that are within city limits, there are many MSMEs that are in the so-called red areas, where the opening up is looking like it's going to be delayed, for them to, on the one hand, honor paying workers as is being required by government, and I believe in their hearts they would also like to do, but on the other, to do it at a time when they just don't have the funding is not very realistic either. So the two issues that MSMEs face today are, one is how to pay workers mandatorily when they aren't open, and two, on opening, how to comply with rules which of course are now getting clarified. But what they got frightened with was if there was one, or the interpretation was if there was even one COVID case, then there was arrest warrants, etc., for management, for CEOs, which is now being clarified as being not the intention. But I think as long as that guideline remains, companies are going to be extremely nervous about, even if they do the right thing, that worker comes in for 8 to 12 hours into a factory, but they can't be held accountable for the 12 hours the worker is not in the factory, and indeed reports being COVID positive.
In fact,
I would only just say it's in the interest of every company to be up and running, and I have no doubt that big and small companies will do the right thing, given that we are giving them, whether it's through industry chambers or through government, the SOPs to operate under, because they want to be up and running. So they will comply in their own best interest.
Okay. Please do stay with us. Rasesha, you also stay with us, because Dr. Sangeeta Reddy, the president of FICCI, is now also with us. Dr. Reddy, I started by these opening comments by everyone, all the panelists, on what they think or what their suggestion is to revive or help the MSME sector. Would you like to tell us, as a representative of FICCI, what do you recommend?
So clearly, I first want to say that the criticality of the MSME sector has to be acknowledged, because 45% of manufacturing in this country, 40% of exports are all coming in from MSME. So this is a significant sector, and that's why FICCI has focused so much on it. But we also believe the benefits have to go to all sectors. The other important point about MSME is that they actually contribute 29% of the country's GDP. So we have to keep that aspect also in mind when we're making these packages or these recommendations. The recommendation from FICCI, as Naina has very appropriately observed, is that we said we need a collateral-free, interest-free loan of 12 months for MSME, for them to buy the raw materials, to be able to bring in their workers back into the workforce and get this engine of the economy running again. I think just to look at the rough calculation is important, because the amount which is required to do this is about just 0.04% of GDP. That's 8,000 crores is the interest cost that we are saying to be deferred or to be funded by the government. And at 0.04% of GDP, to keep 29% of India's GDP alive, I think is a very important fact. So we tried to link it in this manner. This, I think, is the crux of our recommendation. Besides that, of course, there's more sectorial approach. Once we, and we're thinking of MSME in 3 buckets. First is let them survive, then give them the package so that they revive, and ultimately play a role with larger companies in the global supply chain and the disruption in the future economies of the world. So they move to stage 3, which is thrive. So survive, revive, and thrive.
Okay. Dr. Reddy, please do stay with us. Rasesh, one question that I was meaning to ask, Captain Amrinder Singh, the Chief Minister of Punjab, also referred to this. He says that the amendment that has been made to increase the time for the staff so that they can work in a 12-hour shift is welcome, but at the same time, there is a certain amount of ambiguity that will that these members or industries are going to suffer with. For instance, there are certain rules that you can't sack the employee, make him work more. This is with the intention to increase productivity. Do you think that should there be a strong implementation of these policies coming in a somewhat, as the criticism says, in a knee-jerk reaction, is going to harm the industry more than benefit?
Absolutely. I think if you have very strict rules and you come back to what is called Inspector Raj, that will be more harmful, because at this point, what government needs to do is they need to trust the industry. They need to trust the companies. The companies themselves are struggling. I think having broad guidelines of what the companies need to do to ensure the safety and the health of their employees is very important, but allow some leeway. And if you are very draconian about it, then companies will play safe and try to just, I think reduce everything. What you need to do is have strong rules, also implement them, have fines if required, but any criminality on that is also very harmful, because the moment you make any outcome which becomes criminal for the management or for the owners of the company, that will again lead to risk aversion. Currently, what will happen is, because of the COVID issue, everybody is going to be risk averse. We need to get the economy back on track. We need to get people to start opening up slowly and steadily in a calibrated manner. So having trust, having confidence, allowing people to come back is more important than making them more risk averse and more careful.
Okay. Ms. Kidwai, and this is a question I will ask of all the 3 of you. We'll begin with you, Ms. Kidwai. This is today's story, and I'm sure you must be aware. Debt funds winding down. We're talking in the context of Franklin Templeton. Do you think, and this is a valid fear in the minds of a lot of people, is this just the tip of the iceberg with the worst yet to come? Ms. Kidwai, can you hear me?
It's the tip of the iceberg only if we don't recognize a fear in the market. There was no liquidity crisis in that.
Ms. Kidwai, what we'll do is we'll just come back to you. I think there is some problem in your audio connection. We're going to wait for the bandwidth to resolve and then maybe come back to you. Rasesh Shah, would you like to take that one? Do you think this is the tip of the iceberg?
Idea is not to be alarmist. Obviously, it's a significant event. But as we know, since last 18 months, since the IL&FS issue happened, the Indian bond markets have been dislocated. Because after IL&FS, the confidence in the bond funds and all has come down. And RBI has been pumping liquidity, but a lot of that liquidity is going to banks. It has not come into the bond market. So I think it is also a wake-up call that we need to align the bank market and the bond market because they are both complementary to each other. We need to make both of them work. And the absence of liquidity in the bond market, RBI has done some good stuff. The LTRO that they announced said that they can, the banks should buy 50% of the money in the secondary market. It's a good thing. But the problem is that even banks are very risk averse. So we need somebody as a backstop for risk. I think what the RBI government can do is create a risk calibrated, structure where the government or the RBI will take the risk and not let the banks suffer the risk. Because if the banks have to take the risk, they will remain risk averse.
Okay.
And what we are seeing right now is not a liquidity problem; it's a risk aversion problem.
Significant. Ms. Kidwai, I believe, is back with us. Yes, Ms. Kidwai, you were saying.
Yes, I was saying we can't just treat the market as just to do with banks. There's clearly a deep interconnection between bond markets, mutual funds and banks. And if you see the actions that have come from the Franklin Templeton Fund, and I do hope it will be contained just to them, that the fear in their minds is that many were rushing to redeem or could rush to redeem the money that is lying with them. And in that rush for redemption, that there would be a depreciation in value because they would have to sell bonds at a discount. So before the problem arose, they have chosen to take this action. Now, all that tells you is there is a rush to safety, yes, by investors, but there's also a rush for funds for liquidity. Companies have parked large amounts of money historically with mutual funds, and they're needing the funds for their day-to-day operation. So it is really an indication of the fact that we have to act, pump liquidity into corporates so that they in turn can ensure that the move, that industry continues to move in a way that does not impact the bond markets, does not impact the mutual funds.
Okay.
And exactly as Rasej says, if government can come in directly without leaving all of it just to the banks, so much the better.
Okay. Dr. Reddy, let me ask you also, maybe pick your brain on this issue. The debt fund winding down of Franklin Templeton. How do you look at this? What is the solution to perhaps fix this? I mean, Rasej says that this is risk aversion.
So I think it's a combination, like the two experts before me spoke, and they know the sector and the industry. But clearly there's a risk aversion, there's a lack of liquidity, and the most important thing for all business is actually sentiment, because business is the link between individuals, consumers, and the government. And it is this sentiment of fear which is something that we strongly request the government to step in now. I believe the government has done an outstanding job in terms of the medical management. It stepped in earlier to give input to the most vulnerable sections. There's still a need to do more there to stimulate demand. And now, if the overall stimulus package or the relief package, which focuses on business continuity and saving the economy, if that comes quickly, then we will be able to see a reversal of this type of fear sentiment or this psychosis. And once a movement starts out of India, it would create a kind of a similar herd movement. So it's important for the government to move in quickly, to move in with large sums of money, and the longer we wait, the tougher the recovery will be. So this is, I think, the ultimate requirement, that we do the phased, calibrated lifting of the lockdown. We quickly announce the stimulus package. We put into the country, and I'm saying we invest into the country, 4 to 5% of GDP. And this investment will then keep our economy on a high and enable us to take advantage of the overall global disruption which is happening.
All right, Sangeeta Reddy, Dr. Reddy, Rasej Shah, as well as Naina Lal Kidwai, many thanks for your suggestions. Hopefully the government is listening and will accommodate if and when that next package is announced. Thank you so much for joining us.